Today on 7th Circle Gaming, we're back in the world of high fantasy in Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning. And after a bit of full disclosure, we'll be looking at a couple of screenshots. Of course, you are welcome to pause the video here and read through all of these if you are interested. Otherwise, let's move on and look at the screenshots. In our first screenshot of Amalur, which is what we're going to call the game from here on out for the sake of brevity, we're going to talk about the user interface in the in-game world. The user interface of this particular game is made up of very safe choices. We have indicators for character health, magic power, ammunition, and a semi-unique mechanic called fate power at the top left. However, players that are familiar with the genre could call that Rage of the Gods mode, or any other number of different special superpower modes. At the top right, in another very safe choice, we have a mini-map, and at the bottom center of the screen is the abilities bar. Now on to something of a unique choice. The world of Amalur is rendered in what we're going to term an impressionist art style. It's not overly realistic, but it's not unrealistic either. The world, however, is made up of very generic high fantasy creatures, elves, dwarves, trolls, and the other creatures that players have come to expect. In our next screenshot, we're going to be talking not only about a bit of player agency, but also statistics focus, as not only does the currently equipped weapon influence the appearance of the character, but it does have statistics attached. Although we do believe from our evaluation sessions that it is the statistics that influence the player choice more than it is simply the appearance of the item. This is not the only avenue for player agency. In our next two screenshots, we're going to be looking at two other avenues for player agency. The one that we're looking at right now is the one that most directly influences the character's progression through the world, or the character's journey through the world, as we unlock the ability to not only notice hidden items, but create through the crafting system new items. Our second screenshot, which encompasses the concept of player agency, illustrates something of a perk tree, which simply adds statistics bonuses based on which weapon the character is equipping. It is worth noting that there are only 3 areas here, so yes, the game does permit a bit of multi-classing, but there really are only those 3 weapon areas of big sword, small sword, and magic that these statistics will influence. Moving on then very quickly to our last screenshot before we get overly subjective. What we're looking at here is a screenshot of one of these story cutscenes. There is an opportunity for player agency, as the player can inquire of any one of the NPCs the items in the white font, or the player can simply choose to continue the cutscene by selecting the blue font. Now then, with all of our screenshots out of the way, we're going to be moving into our first proper chapter, which is, as always, immersion. Here the game has earned a 6 out of 15. As you've already seen, the game is presented in a third-person perspective. It's a fairly generic high fantasy world, and the art style is what we've called impressionistic paintings. There's a fair amount of statistics on offer as well, as all of the in-game objects and the upgrade trees and the perks all have statistics attached, which players are well advised to pay attention to. There is a degree of player agency on offer. Of course, players can ignore the statistics and simply choose what items that they're going to equip based on the appearance rather than the stats. Players can also choose to voluntarily get more invested in the world by engaging in more of the questions with the NPCs. Finally, the game will offer story as an immersion avenue for players in that the major events of the game are presented as part of a much larger overarching story, with some self-contained mini-stories. We'll come back to that a bit later, but remember the concept. For difficulty, the game has earned a 6 out of 15. There are basic difficulty options only. Likewise, the descriptions of how those options will impact gameplay are very basic as well. We did find that the keyboard commands can be awkward for some players to access, especially in a tense situation. Certainly we have accidentally sprinted when we meant to dodge roll, or dodge roll when we meant to sprint. There are some minor camera issues as well. It is possible that there's an optimal playstyle and an optimal class in the game. However, we can't say with any certainty what that is. We do believe, however, that the gamepad is preferred over the keyboard and mouse. It's also possible that there are hidden statistics in the game, or that certain statistics are not accurately reported to the player. Speaking of the player, what's going to keep them playing through the game, and what's going to keep it installed on hard drives? That we call lasting appeal. Here the game has earned a 4.5 out of 15, a rather low score. There is no additional DLC available, and it doesn't look like that's going to change anytime soon. There is also no mod support for the game through any traditional source that doesn't require editing in-game files or potentially downloading a virus. Players, however, can retry the game with a different character class. The game does permit multi-classing, although it does require spending a significant amount of time before that really is truly unlocked. Players can also retry the game on a different difficulty level. We have found that the play sessions range anywhere from 20 minutes to 45, and it does seem like the time commitment increases as the player character level increases. Even at level 6, we were finding that our quests took upwards of 30 minutes to complete. And that was on normal difficulty. So, overall then, where does Amalur stand? Overall, the game has earned a 5.5 out of 15. A fairly low score, but not terribly low either. The game is a story-based game with very few true branching paths. Some players will be quickly turned off by the art style and not be interested in playing any further. Now on to a couple of highly subjective statements before we end the video today. We do find that traveling from point to point in the game takes entirely too long. There is a fast travel system, but the player must first visit that point before they're able to fast travel to it later, which is a not too subtle way of saying that there's a fair amount of backtracking in the game. Now the idea behind that is that the player will organically uncover quests as they journey to the point they were given a quest earlier for, but frankly the game simply becomes monotonous too quickly without the ability to ride a horse or utilize some other magical traveling method. And with that, we will just say thank you very much to all of you who made it all the way to the end of the video. We look forward to seeing you on the next one, and from 7th Circle Gaming, goodbye.